You start your side hustle and immediately think about scale. More platforms, more output, bigger goals. You push yourself to move faster than your schedule allows. At first, the ambition feels energizing. Then the pace becomes hard to sustain. You miss days. You fall behind. Guilt replaces excitement. The mistake is forcing speed before stability. Growth without rhythm creates pressure that drains consistency. Over time, burnout sneaks in quietly, not because the idea was bad, but because the pace wasn't realistic. Slower growth that fits your life lasts longer. Stability first, scale later. At first, doing it all feels efficient. You handle content, setup, replies, and fixes. You want to understand every part. It feels responsible, but slowly the load grows heavier. Small tasks pile up. You feel stretched and tired, even though the hustle is still small. The mistake is refusing help or shortcuts, not because you're wrong, but because time is limited. Doing everything manually, quietly, caps your progress. Over time, exhaustion replaces enthusiasm. The hustle feels like another full-time job. The calmer approach is to simplify and reuse. Templates, systems, small automations. You don't need to do everything to move forward. You tell yourself you're being responsible. You want the plan to be solid, every step thought through, so you keep refining it. One more outline, one more tweak. Days pass. The plan looks great on paper, but nothing has actually started. Quiet doubt begins to creep in. The mistake is believing clarity comes before action. In reality, clarity usually comes from doing. Waiting for perfection delays learning. Over time, planning becomes a safe place to hide from uncertainty. The side hustle stays theoretical instead of real. The shift is gentle. Start with a rough version. Let the plan improve through use. Movement creates direction. You assume you'll find time later, after dinner, on weekends, when things calm down. The schedule stays vague. Life fills the gaps. Chores, rest, family, distractions. The side hustle keeps getting pushed to the edge. The mistake is treating free time as endless. When time isn't protected, it disappears quietly. Over time, progress slows not from lack of effort, but from lack of intention. The hustle survives only when time has a place. Even small protected blocks change everything. Time doesn't need to be large, it needs to be claimed. You work on your side hustle after a long day. You finish one task. You post once. You improve one small thing. Then you shrug it off. It feels too small to count. You tell yourself it only matters when something big happens. A sale, a spike, a clear win. Until then, it feels like nothing. The mistake is dismissing small progress. Those small actions are the only way momentum forms, but ignoring them makes effort feel pointless. Over time, motivation fades, not because nothing is happening, but because you never let progress register. Noticing small wins doesn't inflate your ego. It simply keeps you grounded in reality. Progress grows when you allow it to be seen. You approach every action like it's being graded. If a post doesn't work, you take it personally. If results are slow, you assume you chose wrong. This pressure makes each step heavier. You hesitate more. You second-guess decisions that don't need that weight. The mistake is treating the hustle like a pass or fail test. That mindset turns normal experimentation into emotional risk. Over time, fear replaces curiosity. You stop trying new things because failure feels too costly. The gentler shift is to treat it as practice, information, not judgment. Every attempt teaches something useful. You commit to your side project. You work on it in the living room after dinner, at the kitchen counter in the morning, sometimes from your bed late at night. You're putting in the time, but it feels scattered. You often spend the first 15 minutes just remembering where you left off or searching for a file. The mistake is not giving your hustle a home. It's not about a fancy office. It's about a dedicated, repeatable container for your effort. Without it, every session requires mental energy just to begin. You lose receipts, forget passwords, and waste precious minutes you promised yourself. Over time, this friction makes it easier to skip a session altogether. The realization is that consistency thrives on ease. Your lesson is to create a simple system, a specific notebook, a single folder on your desktop, a dedicated bag for your materials, even a physical corner of a table that stays set up. This small act tells your brain it's time to focus. It removes the invisible barriers that quietly turn effort into exhaustion. Make starting easier, and you'll find yourself going further. You post something and wait. You check reactions. You hope for feedback that says you're on the right path. When it doesn't come, the silence feels loud. You start questioning your ability. You hesitate to continue without reassurance. Each step feels heavier than the last. The mistake is outsourcing confidence. Validation arrives late or not at all, especially early on. Waiting for it slows everything down. Over time, progress depends on approval instead of intention. That's a fragile place to build from. The quieter strength is internal. You keep going because the work matters to you. Validation can follow later. You start with a vision of success that looks like a dramatic breakthrough. A post goes viral. A client gives you a huge project. You imagine a single event that will suddenly validate all your effort and change everything. So you work. But part of you is always listening for that big moment. You measure your days against it. When it doesn't come, discouragement seeps in. The mistake is anchoring your motivation to an outcome you cannot control. It makes the quiet, diligent work of today feel insufficient. You might even start skipping the small, consistent actions, devaluing them because they aren't the windfall. But progress in a side hustle is almost never a single wave. It's the tide, built by countless, tiny, consistent efforts. The lesson is to fall in love with the practice itself. Find satisfaction in the act of creating, in serving one person well, in learning one new thing. Celebrate the minor milestones. The big moments are wonderful, but they are rare and unpredictable. The daily practice is what you own, and it is what, brick by brick, actually builds your future.